For 30 years, I thought silence was peace. I thought that two people sitting in the same room without speaking was a sign of maturity, of comfort, of having arrived somewhere together. I was wrong. And by the time I understood what silence really was, what it really cost, I'd already paid in full. My name is Raymond. I'm 71 years old. I worked in insurance for 36 years, which tells you something about who I was. A man comfortable with numbers, with risk assessment, with the quiet certainty of a life that could be calculated. My wife, Patricia, was the opposite. She was a kindergarten teacher for 28 years. She talked constantly about her students, about her mother, about things she'd seen on the walk home, colors in the sky, a dog she'd passed, a woman crying on a bench. She noticed things. She narrated the world. When we married in 1981, I loved listening to her. I thought, this is what I need. Someone who fills the space I leave empty. And for a long time, that's what happened. She talked. I listened. We were balanced, the way two different instruments can balance in a piece of music. But at some point, I can't tell you exactly when. It wasn't a day or a moment. It was a slow drift. I stopped listening. Not dramatically, not rudely. I just started answering less, responding less, engaging less. And because Patricia was Patricia, she adjusted. She talked a little less, and then a little less than that. And then she stopped telling me about the sky colors on the walk home. I didn't notice when it happened. That's the worst of it. I didn't notice because I'd reframed the silence as something earned. We'd been together long enough that we didn't need to fill every moment with words. That felt sophisticated to me, evolved. What I didn't see, what I refused to see, was that Patricia hadn't gone quiet because she'd matured. She'd gone quiet because she'd given up. There was a Sunday afternoon. Michael, our son, was visiting with his wife and his two kids. And after lunch, everyone moved to the living room. And Patricia said something about a memory from when Michael was young, a fishing trip we'd taken, the way Michael had been terrified of the fish once he caught one. And she looked at me with this expectant smile, waiting for me to join in, to remember it with her. I said, and looked at the football game. Michael saw it. He caught my eye for just a second, not accusatory, just noting. And then he leaned toward his mother and asked her to tell him more about the fishing trip. And she lit up, the way Patricia used to light up when I paid attention. She didn't light up for me that day. She lit up for Michael. I went to bed that night with a strange feeling I couldn't name, something between shame and recognition, like catching your reflection in a window and not liking what you see, but convincing yourself the light must just be bad. The recognition came slowly. It came in fragments over the following years. A comment from our daughter during a phone call. "Dad, does Mom seem okay to you? She seems quieter lately." A moment at a holiday dinner when Patricia told a long story about her friend Vera and looked at me at the end for confirmation, the way you look at your partner when you're telling a story to others. And I realized I hadn't been listening at all. I had no idea what the story was about. And then, 3 years ago, Patricia got diagnosed with early Parkinson's, the kind that starts as a tremor in the hand, the kind that is slow and, her doctors said, manageable for now, but that has the word progressive attached to it like a shadow. We were driving home from the neurology appointment, and the car was quiet, and Patricia was looking out the window, and I said, "How are you feeling about it?" She turned to look at me, and she said something I've never forgotten. She said, "Ray, I've been telling you how I feel about things for 30 years. You just haven't been listening." She didn't say it angry. She said it the way tired people say true things, like they've been carrying it too long to hold it with any more energy than that. I pulled over. I turned off the engine, and for the first time in a very long time, I stopped preparing my response and I just listened. I asked her how she was really feeling, and she talked, for maybe 20 minutes, sitting in a parked car on a side street in late November. She talked about fear, about what she worried the disease would take, about a trip to Portugal she'd wanted for years, but never pushed for, because I always found a reason it wasn't a good time. About how sometimes she sat in the kitchen in the morning and wondered what she was, not who she was, what she was to me. I didn't have a good answer to that, because the honest answer was I'd made her into background. She had become the silence I mistook for comfort. After that drive, I started paying attention. Not because I had some revelation, because I was scared. Scared of what would happen if her voice got quieter. The disease, the years, whatever came next. And I realized I'd spent 3 decades not listening to it. So I started asking questions, small ones at first. What are you thinking about right now? Tell me about Vera. How is she doing? What did your doctor actually say? Take me through it. Questions I should have been asking for 30 years. You know what I found out? Patricia had been living an incredibly rich interior life that I had almost no access to. She had opinions about things I assumed she didn't care about. She had fears she'd never voiced because she'd learned I wouldn't receive them. She had a whole relationship with solitude, a kind of quiet she'd made her own, that I never knew about, because I'd left her alone in it so often, she'd learned to make it comfortable. She was fine. She was more than fine. But she'd had to become fine on her own, without me. The silence in our house had not been peace. It had been Patricia learning to live in the space I kept leaving. Here's what I know now that I wish I'd known at 40. Silence in a relationship is not neutral. It's not empty space. It fills up. It fills with everything that isn't said, the questions not asked, the stories not told, the fears carried alone. And over years, that filling becomes a wall. You can still see each other through it, but you can't reach each other anymore. The scary part is, it doesn't happen dramatically. Nobody slams a door and says, "That's it, I'm done talking to you." It happens like erosion, one never mind at a time, one at a time, until someone looks around one day and realizes they're completely alone inside a marriage. If you are in a long relationship and something feels off but you can't name it, if things feel fine but also feel hollow, I want you to consider the possibility that the silence you've settled into has cost more than you know. You don't need to have a dramatic breakthrough. You don't need to reinvent your relationship. You just need to ask a real question, tonight, and stay in the answer. Don't half listen. Don't wait for your turn to respond. Just stay inside what they're saying long enough that they believe it matters to you. Because here's the thing. Patricia knew all along that I loved her. She never doubted that. But love without attention isn't enough. Love without presence isn't felt. You can love someone completely and make them feel completely invisible at the same time. Don't do what I did. Don't let silence become so comfortable that you forget it's actually distance. Patricia and I went to Portugal last September. It was the trip we'd talked about for years and never taken. We walked through Lisbon for 6 days. We sat in cafes. She talked about everything she saw, and I listened to every word. It was the best trip of my life. Not because of Portugal, because of Patricia. This channel exists for people who learned things the hard way and want to share them. If this mattered to you, subscribe and turn on notifications. Leave me a comment. Tell me something your partner has been trying to say that maybe you haven't been hearing. That comment might reach someone who needs it. Hit that like button. And if you've got a story of your own worth telling, there's a form in the description. Fill it out. Your voice might be the one someone else is waiting for.